Now, I've been doing this for about a year now, and it has completely revolutionized my guitar playing. I was in a jam just the other day, and a guy stopped, and he turned around, and he said, "Wow, you have a great ear." And I'll tell you, that never used to happen to me, and I attribute it completely to this exercise. So in this video, I'm just going to show you how I do this and what I've learned over about a year of doing it, about how to get the most out of it, how to have the most fun with it, and kind of going from the beginning level where I started, how to get into it, and then to the more advanced level where I'm working with it now. When I was younger, I read a lot of autobiographies of famous guitarists. And years later, I was thinking back on them, and I realized that every single one of them had a passage that said basically the same thing. All of them at some point had some passage that was basically, and then I locked myself in my room and I put on my favorite records and I just played with them for hours. In Keith Richards' book, Life, he has this bit about getting these blues records from Chicago and putting them on and playing with them, and as he said, just to get the feel of the thing. And that, I feel like, is the really important point here. I see a lot of people listening to songs and trying to mimic them exactly, trying to like transcribe a solo note for note, and that can be very beneficial. That can be good ear training. You can learn a lot about what the other artist is playing. But that's not what I'm trying to get at here. This is a completely different exercise. This is more like trying to jam with these bands as if you were actually on stage with them, as if you were in the moment, live with your favorite musicians. What would you do? So the first point is that it has to be fun. Like, it has to sound good. It has to be rockin', or you're just not going to do it. Like, you're not going to enjoy the process if it doesn't sound good. So the way I like to do it is I like to plug into an interface and plug into my computer so that the music I'm playing along with and my guitar are coming from the same sound source. Now, if you don't have the ability to do that, you can just take your guitar amp, set up a stereo and a guitar amp, and just turn it down. And just the point is just making sure you get the mix right. We often have a tendency when we're playing along with a record to just turn up and be the lead instrument in this situation, but I like to try to approach it from like, if I was actually on stage with these guys, if I was on stage with my heroes trying to play, what would I do? I would turn way down and I would be in the background and I would slowly just put myself into the mix and try to make it sound as good as possible. Now that we've got the sound good, we've got the mix right, it's time to start playing. But we don't know what key we're in. We don't know what the chord changes are. So how do we approach the music? Like, what's our entry point to the music? Well, music has so many other elements other than the notes and the key signature. So the best way to approach it is to focus on all of these other things. Focus on the tone, on the phrasing, on the rhythm, the dynamics, the groove of the thing. If you can match the tone and the sound and the rhythm and the groove of a song, no one's going to even notice that you're hitting some wrong notes. You're just going to blend in with the sound of it. So that's the way that I approach it, and that has a secondary benefit as well, which is that it gives my conscious mind something to do and distracts it so that my subconscious can be busy figuring out what the key is, figuring out where home is, figuring out what scale pattern we're in. Because the conscious mind doesn't work, the subconscious mind doesn't work like the conscious mind does. The conscious mind figures things out logically. But the subconscious mind learns things like a computer. It just tries all of the options and then it identifies patterns from all the data. So you have to just give it time to try a bunch of things, playing around quietly, fiddling, trying to match the tone and the sound and the dynamics. and give your subconscious time to like hear the patterns in the music. Because identifying the key and the chord structure of a song consciously, it's just way too much information. There's way too much going on. So we have to train our subconscious how to do this. And in order to do that, we have to get our conscious mind out of the way. And I tell you, you will be amazed at how quickly you get better at this. The subconscious learns very quickly if you just get your conscious mind out of the way and give it a chance to work on it. And this is where the exercises and the scale patterns come back in, because if you know all your scale patterns, then you'll be playing along and you'll find a little groove that sounds right with the song. And then if you know your patterns, you'll look at it and you'll say, oh, I'm in this pattern, which means I'm in this key. And then you can then move around to different scale patterns and move up and down the neck, and then you're free to do whatever you want. So that's the way that I access finding the key, is I distract my conscious mind by doing all the other things, making sure I sound good, my tone, my phrasing, my dynamics. And then my subconscious finds the pattern. After a few months of doing this, I got to the point where my subconscious would pretty much find the home of the key within a few seconds. It happened very quickly, but in the beginning it would take, half the song. So your ability for the subconscious to recognize these patterns will improve very, very quickly. And that's kind of the end of the beginning phase of this. I spent 4 to 6 months probably doing this exercise, just getting better at finding the key, at recognizing the scale patterns, at matching the groove and the dynamics and all of these other things, trying to make it sound like I was really in the music, trying to match the subtleties in the timing and the silence. Knowing when not to play is super important. So then the advanced part of this that I got into later took kind of 2 stages. The first one was that I naturally started to parrot parts of the melody. So parts of the vocal lines, I would then start to put that into my guitar lines, do like a call and a response, not trying to mimic it exactly note for note, but trying to mimic the feel of it, the melodic structure, so that you feel like you're fitting melodically into the spirit of the song. And that kind of happened naturally, but once I realized I was doing it, I started to focus on it and had a lot of fun with it. And I feel like it really helped my ear for learning how to identify melodies and intervals. And then the second aspect I had to focus on more consciously, which was trying to actually figure out what the chord structure of the song is, which chord comes where and when. And this was like a combo of figuring out how to use my conscious mind and my subconscious at the same time by directing my conscious mind to pay attention to the chord changes and pay attention to the sounds of the chords, but then let my subconscious move my hand around and figure out what it was. This is still difficult for me, but I feel like I've really gotten a lot better at it. I feel like as my listening skills have grown, I can hear subtleties in the music that I didn't even know were there before. Like there's an essence to a 4 chord that I can't even describe in words, but somehow now my subconscious knows the essence of a 4 chord sounds different from a 5 chord in a key signature. I couldn't tell you why, I can just tell you which one's which. And it has been so incredibly helpful, and not just has it been helpful, but it is the most fun exercise I've ever done. I have never had more fun playing the guitar than just putting on my favorite songs, getting the mix right so that I sound good in the band, in the group, and just playing along, man. It's my favorite way to listen to new music now. I'll put on my Discover Weekly playlist on Spotify and I'll just jam for hours, just listening to new music and having a blast with it. So I hope you guys have fun with this. I know if you do it, it will greatly improve your playing and improve your ability to just sit down with musicians and have fun and make music. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.